liberty, and justice for all. Let's please remain standing and think about troops overseas and the sacrifices that they are giving to our great country, and also the sacrifices to their families. And please continue to think about our police officers who defend us every day. Thank you. Welcome to the Village Board meeting, Monday, August 8th. It's now 7:30. At this time, I'd like to set the dates for the September meeting. For the workshop will be held Tuesday, August 30th at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, the board meeting, the village board meeting will be held Monday, September 12th at 7:30. May I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a second for the board meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Right up to the fire department there, Chief. How we doing?
Good evening. Fire department has no report. It's only if you guys have something for me.
Nope, you guys are doing a great job. Keep up the great work.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Please tell the troops. Oh, okay. At this time, I'd like a motion to open a public hearing to change the section 26615G of the Village Code regarding use of yards.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Is anyone here from the public that would like to speak? Yes? No? Would you like to come up to the mic, Carol, or? Okay. Hold on. Let me see if I have it. It's actually, you have it? Okay, so the use of yards is the accessory units, the building structures for single and two-family dwellings. So within a single-family or two-family dwelling in any district may not have more than two accessory buildings or structures within the required side or rear yard, provided, however, that no two buildings or structures may be of the same type. So you can't have two sheds, you can't have two swimming pools, you can't have two of the same accessory structures. You can't have, so you can have a pool and a shed. Does that answer your question? Okay, all right. So at this time, I'd like to continue the public hearing to Monday, September 12th at 7:35.
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Where's the other hearing? September 13th? Not sure.
September 12th is our meeting.
No, the primary election.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's now 7:40. I'd like to open a public hearing for filming in the village of Suffern. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
You want to read the public hearing, Dan?
Dan has it.
Okay. The genesis of this local law is that we've had a number of filming companies approach us since December. Some of them have actually filmed in the village, but each of them has asked us, what's your ordinance, how much are your fees, what is your application process, when can we film, where can we film, etc. What I discovered was that while filming has occurred in the village in the past, there was nothing formalized with regard to a local law which provided for that level of detail, or for that matter, any detail with regard to filming in the village. So I prepared a draft of a local law. It's been circulated for many months now. It went to the Rockland County Planning Department. They approved of the local law and asked me to just add a number, which I did more than 7 days ago. And what this local law does is it seeks to regulate the and balance the interest of wanting to have filming done in the village, but at the same time protecting the rights of the citizens so that it's not done in an invasive way, which would impact the quality of life, the operation of traffic flow, etc. So within this local law, there's a permit requirement, there's information that they have to submit, there's rules and regulations, there's an appeal process if they're not happy with regulations that are placed upon them, there's filming timing requirements, there's days of the week where it could be done, there's fees that are to be paid. The way we did it most recently was we got reimbursed for any police costs, any DPW costs, any use of village facilities, and recreation costs as well, because recreation department staff had to be involved. But it was never formalized until this local law was put together. And it also contains a penalty provision for those that will not abide by it. The Rockland County GML that I referred to was dated June 27, 2016. As I already stated, the only recommendation that they had was that a numbering be added, and it was. Whenever a municipality adopts a local law, they have to declare themselves lead agency, and this is a type 2 action which would not require further review under seeker. So if you were to be inclined after hearing the public to consider adopting it, the order of things would be to close the public hearing, to make a motion to declare it a type 2 action, and third, to declare a negative declaration because it would require no further review under seeker.
Okay. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit, since I know that some of the business owners in the area were disturbed by the filming in the past, that we did provide some time frames. We didn't allow Fridays, Friday evenings in the business district, and the time constraints are tightened up, and along with that, there should be no interference with the commerce on the streets.
Yeah, and
so
a notice
we did,
requirement too.
No.
That any affected business or property owner be notified in writing.
and that will be all within the permit application process. So, what's that? You want to step up to the mic, please?
Sorry about that. Jeff Genser, 32 First Street. I was just curious if you included any compensation to any merchants who might be negatively impacted by filming in the village. Compensation by
No,
the
not
filmers.
within the local law. No, that would be up to the filming company.
I see. Thank you.
Is there any other comments from the public regarding the filming of the local law, filming in the village?
Tim McInerney, 8 Pavilion Road, Suffern. We own Colonial Florist. The last time you had the filming in here, you shut the road off from Chestnut Street to Parkside. You killed everybody there for the whole day. Are you still gonna block off streets? I mean, you guys make money, but you're killing us as far as the people who own the stores. We gotta pay rent. You don't pay the rent if nobody comes in. And the last-
Right, I know that was an issue at hand, and actually with the road closure was intermittent. We did have the Suffern Police Department on the scene controlling the intersections, but it wasn't a full road closure. But I do understand your concern, and that's why within the application,
Look at E.
let's see what it is.
Right.
So at least 48 hours prior to the issuance of the permit, the applicant shall notify adjacent and abutting property owners in writing by delivering them to them personally or leaving at their place of residency a copy of the permit application to be submitted to the village clerk. So we are putting a notification process in place. We are not allowing them to interfere with the commerce.
And it really goes beyond that, because it's within 48 hours of them applying for the permit, not filming, applying for the permit for approval. So you'll be put on notice right away. As soon as we get the application, within 2 days, you're going to get a copy of that application. And if you feel that it's going to interfere, you'll have an opportunity to express your concerns to the village. And then it goes on to talk about how that will impact whether or not the application will be approved, or how their timing to operate would be approved.
Right, so if it severely impacted your business in a time frame where your business was heavily used, that would be taken into consideration. If it's a restaurant in the evening, I guess, or a florist during the daytime, so on a case-by-case basis, it would be reviewed and either approved or not.
Who approves it? The village?
Yes.
Okay. Because when the film company came down, they didn't want to hear anything. That's why I'm saying to you, you know, I was there.
Yes.
I mean, you know, our delivery trucks had to go into the parking lots in order to deliver because the street was shut down.
And this is one of the reasons why we are adopting this local law and why we took this action, because of the outrage and the complaints from the community and from the business owners. So what we're doing is trying to make it easier for both.
Matter of fact, if you'll wait a minute, I want to read to you the purpose clause is what we call it, as to why the local law is being considered. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Suffern wishes to create an atmosphere where the village serves as a destination place for TV and movie production, while also recognizing that some disruption of the peace and tranquility of the village can result from these activities. For this reason, the Board of Trustees declares that it is necessary to regulate and control commercial filming in the village, both on public as well as private property. So it recognizes that there has to be this balancing, and right now there's nothing.
Right.
So that experience, we got the message, and that's why this local law was drafted.
And just to take it one step further, based on the conferences that we attend and the information that we receive based on other municipalities, is sort of how we implemented this and put it together along with the attorney.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one more question. I heard you mention the adjacent businesses to the filming. Could you like add it, make it 500 feet? Like if you need a zoning change somewhere, you have to send a letter out to everybody within 500 feet? So how about informing every merchant within 500 feet of the filming? Because if it's just the adjacent stores in front of the filming, there are many other businesses that are impacted. I personally felt that. If I had, we talked about that. If I had known, we would have not opened our business that day.
Right.
But we had no notification, and it was more than an adjacent, they weren't directly next to us. So in theory, if you just say the adjacent businesses to where you're filming, we wouldn't have been included in a notification. Thank you.
Radius.
We're just reviewing it to see where that caption is.
Within E, after the word owners, within a radius of 500 feet. Within 500 feet from where the filming will occur.
It's a large area.
It's a big area.
Right. That's a rather large area, 500 feet. I'm sorry, Jeff, I can't hear you.
They have to come up to the mic.
Yeah.
I'm 100% in favor of filming in the village, number one, okay? The last time they filmed, they were 3/4 of the way up the block, and as I said, we didn't have any knowledge of that prior. So I had like a full staff in there and no business at all because nobody could get to us that day. If we had known, and we wouldn't, under this law, if it's not a 500-foot distance, because the reason I use 500 feet is I had an experience where I needed a lot size zone change on my property. And I had to send a letter out to every resident within 500 feet of my home. So using that as a guide,
Right.
I'm suggesting potentially to put the wording in that the
But
merchants that are within 500 feet of the filming
500
should be
feet.
notified, because we are going to be impacted. If
Right.
we're not directly adjacent to the filming, we're still going to be impacted.
Right.
But
You're
if
right.
we're at 500 feet away, we're going to be impacted. If we know about it, then we could take proper
Right. Okay,
measures
got it.
to mitigate our losses.
Just 500 feet seems excessive when you figure the average storefront is about 20, 25 feet. You know, a much more reasonable distance would probably be about 100, maybe 125 feet, I think would be a more reasonable approach. You know, 500 feet, you can go to the next block. Yeah, well,
Just in line with what Bob said, those storefronts are like 25 feet at the most wide. So if you did 100 and 100,
100 on either side of the filming.
yeah, that's 4 storefronts on each side of wherever they're filming.
I think they need more
Otherwise,
than
you're gonna
that,
take-
though.
You're going to take the whole block if you do 500 feet.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's just the notification. It's just the notification. Right,
Well, then if it's just a letter, then you might as well stick with the 500.
right.
But you're going to have people that are 450 feet away coming in complaining.
But that burden is put on the filming company. Yeah, right. we're just trying to work through it, that's all right now, you know, the distance, and that's fine. Does anybody else have any comment?
Mayor, why don't we add to this, all businesses in the downtown area be notified, and then that would cover all.
That would be a lot.
Too much? I don't know.
But Section D doesn't,
500 feet.
Section D is not dealing with notifying.
No, it's E.
E, I'm sorry.
I noticed another thing, where it says their place, by delivering to them personally or leaving at their place of residence, it should probably say, or business as the case may be.
Right.
Oh, more than enough.
More than enough.
That's a radius. Yeah, and they're gonna have to,
I don't know what they're getting
they
on.
gotta either leave it there, so personally deliver it in either case.
This is radius.
Mine says radius.
You wrote it in there.
Right.
Oh. That's a big area.
Big area.
Then we leave it at budding and adjoining or within.
Let's take it back.
Well, the radius is too big.
100-foot radius.
The radius is too big. Like if it's on Lafayette Avenue. See, our discussion here is with the distance of the radius or the abutting property, so that's what we're discussing up here.
Yeah, because
Trying to determine what would be the best fit for, realistically, Lafayette Avenue, the highest impact on the village businesses.
I don't know that the example of a zoning board application or a planning board application is appropriate in light of the fact that that notification can be sent by mail. This notification has to be hand-delivered. So that's kind of...
In the business district. Within the business district, right. Right, not like a zoning or planning board. Yes. Okay.
So do the first two secret resolutions and then continue the public hearing.
For the type 2 hearing.
Before you do that, ask if there's anyone else that needs.
Not a bad idea.
Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? No? Okay. So we're going to close. At this time, we're going to have a motion to close the public hearing.
No, continue.
Continue the public hearing, and we're going to seek the
You can declare yourselves
lead agency, that the village board declare itself lead agency. Do I have a motion?
Motion to
Second.
Motion to continue public hearing.
And declare us.
Well, separate resolutions.
Okay. So we're at a motion to declare the village board lead agency. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Second motion would be to declare the action a type 2 action under seeker, requiring no further environmental review.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, on the motion to continue, can we do it to a date and time?
A motion to continue until 9/12/16,
7:40.
7:40.
We have a motion.
Motion.
40, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we will continue the public hearing on September 12th, so we can straighten it out, straighten out the distances. Thank you. Okay, next, Ms. Mills, Culture and Recreation update, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Village Board. I'd like to say thank you for all your support this summer. We've got a lot of great activities that we've already finished up. We had our great concerts that all went off very well. And we had the Clifford Theater last weekend. It was a fabulous show. We had a packed house for a couple of evenings. And I thank you, everybody. It's been going really well.
Great, thank you. Doing a great
Kathy, I just
job.
wanted to let you know that the showing was amazing.
It really was.
Jackal and I, the one that I went to, the kids did a very great job.
Thank you. Clifford Theater really pulled through. It was wonderful. So a few things coming up. This week on August 11th and 14th to the 14th, Karate Softball will be having the softball tournament. The Karate Foundation will be having the softball tournament at the ball fields. This Sunday, August 14th, we will be having Kerry Cares kickball tournament. Anyone is welcome to play. Everyone is welcome to join a team. The fire department will be having the blood drive on August 16th. I didn't put the date there, but it's August 16th, next Tuesday, between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. over at the community center. Starting August 20th, which I can't believe we're looking at already, the pool will be closing at 7 p.m. due to the darkness. So the pool will be closing at 7 p.m. starting on the 20th. The Suffern Senior Picnic, you're all invited to the picnic. It's going to be at the Mawa Elks starting at 11:30. So please come and enjoy. It's always a nice day for the seniors in the village and for you to get to meet them.
Do we all have to be seniors?
Why quiver about a couple of days?
You're all invited.
Okay, thank you.
We have, the other thing too about the pool, it will be open until Labor Day, and it closes on Labor Day at 6 p.m., so it will be going all the way up until the end of the summer. We have the Lions Club will be hosting a Dog Day event on September 10th over at Yorkshire Park between 10 and 2, and if I believe correctly, I believe that Dare Hockey opens that same day. Okay. So it'll be a big event over at Yorkshire Park, so everyone is invited to attend that. The Dog Day event will be, we'll start to get the flyers out. People come and bring their dogs, and there's different categories where people can enter the dog into a contest. Cutest dog, biggest dog.
It's like a dog
happiest
show.
dog. It's like a little dog show. So the Lions Club is hosting it, and we're going to be there for the day. So you'll start to see flyers coming out. Do you have a dog, Jeff? All right, I'll let you know.
See Mr. Hagen, he's accepting applicants.
He's a judge.
Our 9/11 ceremony this year, because September 11th is actually on a Sunday, we are doing it during the afternoon, so it will be at 2 p.m. It will not be a candlelight vigil, but it'll still be a nice vigil for the community. So 2 p.m. down at Donahalla Park.
Okay.
The next thing for the village is the street fair. Is coming up Sunday, September 18th, in the middle of the village. Chamber of Commerce is working on that right now, so that should be a wonderful day for the village. And our next huge event is Suffern Day, which will be September 24th, and that will be from 11 to 3 during the day. And then we do have a great opportunity this year. We'll still be able to do the fireworks and the music in the evening. So we'll be having Suffern Day, September 24th. So everybody is invited to Suffern Day. And that, I think, is it.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I could say that I was at the pool party. It was another great event.
Yep.
I was at the concert with Country Fresh.
Yes.
Another great event, and I urge all the residents to attend the concert series. It really is a great event. You guys put on a fantastic job. Family Day was also great, and those are the three events that I went to. But with the upcoming Karate Foundation, you should everybody should try to get out there and support the Karate Foundation. They do a fantastic job here in the village. Kerry Cares Kickball Tournament is another huge event, and that was for one of our former or retired police officers' son, which is it's a very good event. And the events that the recreation put on, they put their heart and soul into it, and they do a great job. I really do appreciate it. So we need to have the residents come out and support all their events. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Ortiz with a building department update, please.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to give a little update on code enforcement in the village. I don't really have that much on the building department end, but on the code enforcement end.
Okay.
If there's any building department questions in the audience, I can bring them back to the building inspector, and we can try to get any answers
Okay.
that anybody has. We recently one of the things I think is really nice is that the mayor had asked us to have an initiative with the police department to kind of bring the two worlds together, because we kind of meet in the middle sometimes with things. And one of the things that we did was we've been going on weekends and meeting up with with different squads at the police station and kind of giving them a look into our world, of what we deal with pretty much when you get into a house. They're oftentimes going into houses where there are issues and maybe walking right by them and not seeing what we see or what needs to be seen. So we've been doing some training with that with the police department, and it's actually been pretty successful.
Right.
Where we've had some things that have been brought to our attention based on those discussions that we've had.
That's a great initiative, just to make the officers aware when they enter into a residence for some type of police call or action. Now the code enforcement is making it more recognizable to the police officer to identify possible code violations, such as, which we all read in the newspaper, overcrowding or property maintenance issues. So it really is an asset, code enforcement and PD teaming up and code enforcement training and showing the police officers what to look for.
And we're also in the process right now. I happen to be a volunteer fireman along with Mike Stark, our other code enforcement officer, and we're actually in the process right now of working out to bring this to the fire department as well, because they also are in situations where, they have actually in the past brought things to us that they've seen,
right,
and we've had to deal with. So we're actually putting something together right now with that as well.
That's great, just to make the public aware that this is necessary, these steps to protect the first responders, especially the firemen, and in fire situations in dark conditions or smoking conditions where they don't know where there's a possible door or a wall or an escape route. They may think there's a window, there's not, so it's really a safety issue, safety concern.
Absolutely. We've actually found, recently we found an illegal dwelling where there was a garage door. You'd believe there's a garage door there. Behind the garage door, there's 2x4s and a sheetrock wall. So, them responding to a situation there, they may think they're going to lift up the garage door and find a big open space, but you wind up with a wall in front of you. So those are the types of things that you find. Some of the other things that we've been dealing with are, it's summertime, so we have our fair share of abandoned houses in the village of Suffern, and we've been pretty relentless on the banks trying to hold people accountable, the responsible parties. In a lot of cases, it's the financial institution that we violate and try to keep the properties maintained. And in most cases, they do. They actually do. They'll cut the grass, maintain the bushes, maybe not to the degree that you or I would do it, but so they look somewhat presentable. And there's been a few that have been issues, and the village board has actually held a hearing recently, which is the first time that's ever been done, where we actually brought it here to the village board, and it was authorized by the board to actually contract private contractors to clean these properties so that they don't look like eyesores and a blight to the neighboring properties. So that's something that also is being done, as well as other property maintenance issues that have been brought to the board's attention that they've been working with us to deal with.
Great, great. Anything from the public? Anybody have any concerns about code or building while we have the Office of Code Enforcement here?
Yeah, I'd like to know if you could possibly look, Carol Verano, Suffern, New York, look into upgrading the code, making it a little more stricter, looking into these people when they come in to build. I mentioned it previously about landlocking property. It was a concern when my father was on. Business people I had mentioned how business people wanted to gain more space for their businesses, so they closed off the sidewalks and the driveways between the businesses, particularly on Lafayette Avenue. We've had some very serious fires in the past, going way back to the Constant Block. The park on the corner of Orange and Lafayette was a horrendous fire. And people were seriously burned and injured, lost everything. There have been other fires you know about. It's so important when our equipment responds. They have maximum safe access. Our firemen, our police, our EMS, to get into the buildings, to get around the buildings. When you take away the space in between, you landlock it. You can't get around. You can go maybe in front, squeeze down a narrow way to the back, across from the Legion Hall on Pavilion. You open the back door and you've got a solid wall staring you in the face. That building goes on fire, I don't think it has a standpipe, sprinkler head, anything else. When they put in new buildings, if it's going to be multifamily, maybe they ought to think about having a sprinkler system in.
Well, that's what we're doing now, Carol, with the new construction that's going to take place on Orange Avenue, having a full review from an engineering firm. We're supplying them with the documentation, the diagrams, and they're going to do a full review of it.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Yeah,
we are taking all of this into consideration.
Yeah, I just looked at it and I thought, gee, the firemen wanted to get back there between
Right.
the wall and the building.
We are aware of it, and this is what we are looking at.
All right.
All right? Thank you.
One other thing, in the past year, we've worked diligently downtown to address the issues with the storefronts, with the signage, and it looks totally different than it looked a year ago, than the sign.
I think you guys did a great job, and you know what? We did have the business owners. There was some backlash, but the compliance it worked,
Yeah.
and it looks better. The village does overall look better.
I think at the end of the day, I think everybody realizes, including some of the merchants that gave pushback, that it's for the better of everybody. It makes the
Yep.
whole downtown look,
Pulling it together.
unified.
Yes. Sure.
I'm in full compliance, our store. I agree with the code, no problem with it. But how about Dunkin' Donuts? They're covering 50 to 60% of their window with signs. How are they allowed to do that?
That's a very good question.
And it's like almost their entire windows are covered with signs.
That's a very good question.
they talking about
Dunkin'
signs?
Donuts went to the planning
Well, they
board.
take care of that.
So Dunkin' Donuts was one of the first places that we were dealing with, and they were one of the first ones to go to the, so basically with the sign rules, without going into crazy detail, you need to get all your window signs, all your signs approved by the planning board. So Dunkin' Donuts went in, and Dunkin' Donuts represented that they had to, as part of their franchise, I wasn't at the meeting, but this is, I believe, were you there? No. You were there or not? Well, this is what I was told. I wasn't at the planning board meeting, but I was told that due to the fact that they have to have all these things from
Corporate.
corporate,
Right.
that they're allowed to have X amount of stuff. So without me looking at exactly in the folder what was approved, I'd have to look at it, but
You know what we'll do, Mr. Gesno, Brandy, we'll take a look into that
Yeah.
and just get back to me on that, and we'll have an answer, a definitive answer.
We are working on the signs, they're making them remove signs.
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah. Great.
Oh, this is,
Okay, we're gonna look into it. Great.
I know. We get it.
All right. All right, Mr. Ortiz is
That's it?
complete? Yeah?
Pretty good?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Mr. Rella, our village grant writer. He's doing a great job.
Thank you, Mayor. We have two grants with the police chief with the DARE program and the Department of Criminal Justice Services. One is for $3,000 and the other is for $13,000. One is, the $3,000 one is for DARE equipment which was purchased in 2014. And that's what you just signed off on today, Mayor. So we should
Right.
be receiving that check for $3,000 in the next 2 weeks, which is great. The second grant, which is also for DARE, is for $13,000, and it's for equipment that was purchased after February of this year, specifically the computer server, which was about $10,000 for the police department, and then $3,000 in equipment as well. So that will take about 4 weeks to get that money in. So that's some nice reimbursement which is coming through. I had to go to some mandatory training for the Community Development Block Grant
Right.
over at the Rockland County Office of Community Development. And two things that came out of that. One is I'll be putting in for the reimbursement of the $100,000 for the Orange Avenue sidewalks and curbs in the next 10 days. So we should be getting that money shortly thereafter. They try to get it to you within 3 weeks of the submission of the voucher. The other is for the 2016 award of $110,000 to do sidewalks and curbs on Wayne Avenue. We need to have a resolution approved by the board which would authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with the county to accept the money and to implement the program, and that we can then submit it to the county. So we have a resolution before
Yes.
us to do that.
So I have the resolution before me. Be resolved that Edward Markunas, as mayor of the village of Suffern, is hereby authorized to direct and to sign the fiscal year 2016 subrecipient agreement between the county of Rockland and the village of Suffern for accepting and administering the fiscal year 2016 Community Development Block Grant Program for Wayne Avenue Sidewalk Project in the amount of $110,000. The village of Suffern will contribute an additional 10%, $11,000 of the total project awarded, thus bringing the total project cost to $121,000. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And once the county executive does sign it, they wait till they get all the agreements from the varying communities, but no monies can be expensed until September of this year.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you. Chief Osborne from the Suffern Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. Thank you for all here for your support. Just a couple informational items. I have nothing to be voted on tonight. I just want to thank everyone here. We, about 3 weeks ago, we started selling shirts to raise money for the officers who lost their lives in Dallas and in Baton Rouge. As of Saturday, we spent a lot of our time, Friday nights, Saturdays, nights, during the week, selling these shirts, and we are over $23,000 so far raised just from t-shirt sales.
Wow.
So
That's a great
I
job.
want to thank everybody here, because everybody here who supported our efforts, and there's a lot of people, and I want to thank all of you because your office is doing a great job. It really is going great. Found out some good news today. While crime rates are affected by numerous factors, a lot of different things can affect your crime or make a change. We are number 9 as the safest community in New York State out of over 525. And we also found out in the country out of thousands upon thousands, which I'll get the number exactly of jurisdictions in the country.
Chief, hold a minute.
Sure. Flip that tape.
Go
I was in
ahead.
a roll, Jay. I was going too.
Put it on AV2. AV2.
Come on, I'm losing the flow. Come on, Jay, we're going now. That's
Now.
number 9.
You good?
Go ahead.
Yes, good.
You good, Chief?
Okay. Number 9 in the state out of 525. Thank you. I know the mayor of Virginia got me that paperwork today. And we are number 99 in the country, which is great. It's over. We're the only ones in the county, this area, to get on both of those lists. So I just want to thank the public, because really there are a lot of factors that contribute to these crime rates. They take the amount of property crime and the amount of violent crime, and they basically prorate it based on your population. So we've done great. This is the 3rd year in a row on the state, top of the state, and the 2nd year in a row in the top 100 in the country. So I want to thank all of you guys. Now, while there were a lot of factors, one of the factors I do believe is number 1 in community involvement, which we're fortunate to support we get for everybody here and all of you. And number 2 could be proactive police work. And looking at this, the numbers from last year to this year, last year we had 311 arrests from January to December 31st in a year. This year, as of today, we have 300, and we still have 5 months to go. So we've definitely been stepping it up. The officers doing a good job, I think, making good arrests, using discretion, using common sense. We're very fortunate. And I just want to thank all of you, because all I had tonight, that was pretty much it, was just some positive things. And obviously, to everyone here, any concerns, you call me anytime. I'm around, and do not hesitate. Thank
Great
you.
job. Please tell the officers in the police department that they are doing a great job. I mean, we see it every day. We're out there on the streets every day. We see the officers in on patrol. Now we see them walking Lafayette Avenue.
Yes.
We see them doing speed. We see them doing radar. We see them doing everything. So thank you, Chief, and thank the men and the women of the department for us.
I will. Thank you very much, man. Thank you.
Breakfast with the chief then? Breakfast with the chief, would that be in the fall?
Okay, at this time, we'd like to invite the audience to come up, and if you have any words or concerns. Oh, hold on.
You forgot the Department of Public Works.
I'm sorry, I did. Department of Public Works, Mr. Zawicki.
Thought you were getting that away with it.
Wow.
All right, good evening, Mayor and the board. I am requesting authorization for Mr. Stanley Dobrinsky Jr. and Mr. John Conklin to attend the Hudson Valley Water Works Conference. This course will provide training on hydrant maintenance, security, troubleshooting, pipe repair, and leak detection. The course will be held on August 18th, 2016, and will be located in Walden, New York, with a cost of $30 each for each attendee, and will be awarded 6 contact hours. This training is required by the New York State and Rockland County Health departments.
Okay, do I have a motion to authorize Mr. John Conklin and Stan Dobrinsky to attend and be reimbursed for attending the Hudson Valley Waterworks Summer Seminar in Walden on
make a
August
motion.
18th?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
You were the quickest one, up and down.
That was fast.
That was quick. Okay, now we invite the audience, I'm sorry about that, to come on up.
Good evening, Mayor. Joe Maraglino, 65 Wayne Avenue. I have one request as far as my address of 65 Wayne Avenue. There's a tree that's partially dead in front of my yard. I think I discussed it with you. it's not only dead, I had to wait for the cable company to remove the cable lines in order for the tree to be removed. I'm going to ask if the DPW, if it's possible, if they could remove the tree and stump grind it. Okay?
I believe, I spoke to the DPW about it, and I believe they're generating a work order for that outside 65 Wayne Avenue. The tree, yes.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the police department also. They have that radar detector out there right next to Pavilion Road, and it has made a major impact on traffic and
Right.
slowing them down. Thank you. Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. In front of me, I have an article that was cut out August 1st in the Journal News. And it had to do with a lady that got struck by a car further down 202. Okay, she was an 82-year-old woman who went across the street to go collect her mail. Unfortunately, she got struck by a car and she ended up passing away. I don't know the full detail what the DOT wants to do, but in that instance, they immediately went out there and they want to do a traffic study was approved. Last May of 2015, we had a woman pass away on our own street, and I didn't see any traffic study being done by any DOT people. Sometimes I wonder if they're sweeping something under the rug. Now, I know I'm barking at the Village Planning Board. I don't mean to. I want to try to get these people focused on our street so that we are serious with the amount of people that have to cross the street. You know, we understand the sidewalks eventually will be installed. You know, I can't emphasize enough about signage, saying pedestrians are crossing, about crosswalks, everything that's very much needed for the quality of life so people can be safe on that street. Along with a permanent structure as far as speed limits go. You know, like the chief has out there, it's electronic. It'll blink when you're going over 30. That's wonderful. If they could put that permanently there, it'd be great.
We did look into I know, Chief, we spoke about the, was it temporary or it was permanent speed?
They can actually be fixed to a pole or to a tree, probably pole would be better, but they do run on solar power.
Right.
Solar and battery, so we have the cost, you and I know discussed it, and I know we were looking into those. Yeah, they do make those. The company that we got
The impact that the portable one that we have now, the big one,
Yes.
works. So I imagine that
the portable one's good size, man. You can see it from a distance.
Right.
And I gotta give DPW credit, because in all honesty, the one we have did not have those 5 or 6 LED lights in the top. They did that. Joe, I agree with you. When people see those lights, because we watch them when we're on the radar there, they hit those brakes because they don't know what it is. The police car, it's a warning, they do work, so I give them credit for, for working that up.
Okay, so we'll continue to see what we can do with that, with the state and purchasing it and installing it. Right.
I know I always seem to beat that same dead horse every month that I'm
It's okay.
here. It's dying, but I mean, at least we're trying, you
Yeah.
know. The other thing being, gentleman over here was stating, the grant writer, he specified about the funds that we got for the sidewalks. Now, I want to be a realist. Now, I'm probably thinking when everything gets going and then they put it out for bid, we're more than likely talking about next year as far as sidewalk installation goes on Wayne Avenue, possibly?
I would imagine.
Okay.
Mr. Zawicki, what would your estimate be for the possibility of the work to start? Okay.
The other thing being, Joseph Russo.
Yes.
How you doing?
Hello.
I always pick on Joe. Did anybody else hear from the DOT about our favorite light over there on the corner of Washington and Lafayette Avenue? You know,
I was
as far
just
as-
discussing with the chief. He made a phone call, I think today. You want to take this one, Clerk?
We're making the calls, I can tell you that. And the guy who called today wasn't in, maybe after a week or two, and I explained the situation. It was like I was explaining it all over again. So, at this point, that's where we are. No problem. We've been trying consistently.
If the audience wants to know, we've been requesting a delayed green light on the corner of Washington and Lafayette because it's horrific there. Anybody that goes south on Washington, and you're on the corner of Lafayette in front of the church, you got to sit there for quite a while, especially after 4 o'clock.
You know what, Mr. Maragrino, Charles, do we have any other contacts in the state that we could speak to about that delayed green or left turn only or something along those lines at Washington and Lafayette?
We do have our contacts in New City. I would say maybe we can reach out to some contacts in Poughkeepsie. We might have
Right.
a little better success.
You were calling Poughkeepsie.
That's exactly. But I'll tell you what, though. Let me make a move. I know somebody else in that position. You can get it. So I want to try it. Because Poughkeepsie, that's
All right, thank you.
take it very well. Very right.
Clark and I have been on this for months, trying to get in contact with somebody, and they just don't call back.
I guarantee you, anybody that lives in the north side of the section where I live, especially Pavilion Road, Washington Avenue, Wayne, oh my God, they really appreciate that light. If they could put a delayed green there, it'd be perfect. Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
The Colony contractors, are they almost finished doing their job? And if so, do you know when they're going to start paving our streets?
The Colinelli contractors, okay. So we're speaking of Wayne Avenue now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You know what's happening? We're approaching the finish line here. What I believe to be, possibly, hopefully, potentially, the finish line. And I believe they would like to start paving sometime in the beginning of September. They didn't start the reconstruction, though, of the trench on Wayne Avenue yet. So, Mr. Zawicki, do we know where we stand with them rebuilding that trench on Wayne Avenue, or what's going to take place there?
Well, there's the same procedure has to take place.
It is exactly the same that took place on Lafayette.
It seemed to have O&R seemed to be a little bit confused
Yeah.
on whether they could do it differently on Wayne, because there was a period of time that the backfill
settled.
and the asphalt settled.
Right.
But the DOT did clarify that the same procedure has to take place. And I think we've been waiting for an updated schedule. I haven't gotten one as of yet, but the last time we did discuss it with them, we were out in the field. You were there as well. It did sound like it was going to be a September, probably right after Labor Day. I think I'm going to be starting that work. So
I know they're still rebuilding some of the catch basins on Lafayette Avenue. We still have two up near the bridge, two on Chestnut Street, some additional crossings at Orange Avenue into the lot, and then down Orange and up Wayne for the rebuilding of that trench on Wayne. You don't. So the trench on Wayne, where they did the gas main replacement, they have to excavate again and rebuild it to state spec like they did on Lafayette.
yeah, they're going to dig it up again. Yeah.
So what they did was they replaced the gas main, they put everything back in so the road can open and the cars can travel. So they didn't have the paver behind them rebuilding the road. It probably would have been shorter by now, but it would have taken longer initially in their plan. So I don't know what to say about it, but they're getting there.
I can't make it a comment.
With that being that, who's responsible for, like, I heard a rumor that they only wanted to pave one side of the street on Wayne Avenue. I know you were fighting for both sides of the street on Wayne Avenue. Who's responsible for the paving, and would they pave the whole street?
Well, the state is responsible for Wayne Avenue and 202. The responsibility of the paving and how much they're going to pave is on O&R. But O&R is only authorized to pave half the road by the state. I think I got that right.
Right.
The state won't fund the other half of the road, which we are fighting for, trying them to have them pave the whole road. Why pave a half a road?
In my opinion, if it was done properly, it would last longer. That's all I'm.
Mine too.
You know how it is. You know.
It's an uphill battle.
Wayne Avenue's a uphill battle. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Roy Chudy, Suffern, New York.
Hi, Roy.
I'd like to know if there's an update. I know I presented a questionnaire. I even drafted a letter to you regarding the quarry. And I know that the village was in the process, and I don't know if they completed the letter that they were going to send over to the town for the use of the quarry. The quarry has been owned by the town for over 10 years. Nothing has been done. It's actually filled up right now with water. To use it for the siphoning plan that was designed by Brooker Engineer. The town did apply for a grant a few years back under Sandy. That money never arrived, and it never will arrive. I contacted the state, Mr. Melville, who wrote back to me and said that money is already expended. There is no more, that money's not going to come. So I just wanted to know if the village can make application to the town, at least have a dialogue of what the status is. Because, as we all know, history has shown that flooding will occur again. And people just can't continue on like this. Not only that, the insurance rates now have gone through the roof on folks, and it's hard for some of the senior citizens and younger families too. So I just want to know if the village has sent that letter. If not, when they're going to send that letter.
So to answer your question, the village has not made a formal application to the town to purchase or have the town give back to the village that property. To answer that, no. With all the other possibilities in play, there's a lot of different variables that still exist for the quarry. I know you don't want to hear that.
But not to cut you off, that is the age-old answer that people get.
Right.
Is that from politician to politician, we either feel sorry for you, we're trying, and we're doing the best we can, but we're the only municipality that has an open remediated quarry that is adjacent to a river that floods. We're the only ones. I've checked it out through the state. We're the only ones that have something right there, and we have an apparatus that was designed that could alleviate flooding. And I mean, I know it takes a certain amount of money, which no politician has been able to get, receive for us.
To speak to that point of the siphoning system, that now that I sit on the board of Bergen-Rockland Flood Mitigation Committee, appointed by Senator David Carlucci, and we have a group of I think 10 or 11 members, and we are exploring that. But like you said, you heard it over and over. The siphoning system, is there a possibility? Does some engineering firm hold the plans? Yes. Are they sharing the plans with the county? No.
Well, they probably want to get paid for that.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
The reason why.
Yes.
But still, I mean, there is an answer. The answer is right there. And for some reason, nothing is getting done. Now, I know there was an issue. I had brought this up at the town board meeting, and it was told to me that somehow, some way, it was going to be done in 2015. Within 90 days, and that was January of 2015.
I was at that meeting. That was with St. Lawrence, who promised you,
Yes.
or promised us that action, which...
I have the transcripts,
Right.
I have the tape.
Right.
Obviously, nothing was
No.
done. Again, if they're not going to use it, they've had it for 10 years. If they're not going to use it, and they're not going to be proactive with it, then I think it's only fair that the village make an inquiry to the town and ask them if they could at least have a dialogue of what we can do with that. That's the one point on the flooding. The other thing is, as you know, there are 29 outfall pipes that lead directly into the Mawa River, which is illegal and approved by the DEC and the EPA. However, as you've seen, I have shown you the tapes that when it rains heavily and the amount of water that comes in there, it's coming in unrestricted. There's nothing in place to guard against erosion or sedimentation. So whether it's through a grant writer or whatever, I'd like to have something put in place that could curtail the volume and the rate and the amount
The
of
volume
water.
and the rate of flow going back into the river.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can I answer that, Ed? Or-
Sure.
All right. He's benevolent. The first thing is, we are in the process of sending a letter to the supervisor asking to return the quarry to us. It's slowed up because there is a alleged contract involved with another developer, so we're trying to work through that, and we are actively seeking to get the quarry back under our control. Item 2 is the erosion and the on the outflow pipes. We have talked to Ellen Jaffe's office, and money that had been previously allotted to another project, we've asked that it be redirected to securing the outflow controls by the outflow pipes. We've gone online and gotten a couple of companies that produce these things, and what it does is it reduces the flow. Like you sent us the video of it. This would reduce that flow. They're equipped with screens to prevent debris from going into the river, and they also have a concrete pad, which in theory will stop the erosion of the riverbed. So we do know the problem. Again, it's a slow process, but we are working on it right
I
now.
appreciate that. I've researched that, and I have also submitted 5 or 6 apparatuses that would help on that. So I do appreciate it.
We're in the process of getting prices on that.
But I can't emphasize enough to have a dialogue open between the village and the town to find out what is going on. It should not be status quo.
You're right.
Well,
we are working on it.
I think that dialogue is somewhat started tonight, considering the Rampo town attorney is here.
I'm well aware that Mr. Klein is here, and I've always had a very nice relationship with Mr. Klein, too. At least I'm looking for a dialogue. I'm hoping that something can, some agreeable position can be made between the town and the village, and we can help alleviate this flood condition. So I want to thank you for let me speak on this issue. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Jim Genatino, 2 Memorial. You had mentioned something about engineering isn't available. What engineering are you looking for?
Are you talking about the quarry?
As far as the quarry.
The engineering of the siphoning system.
You can have it tomorrow. It's in my home. I have all the plans.
Do you really?
Every single one of them.
Okay. We'll pick them up. We'll take a look at them.
I didn't know you didn't get a copy.
No, I wasn't aware that someone had them. I was always under the assumption that no one had
as
them.
Mike, who is here, knows, I foiled them. I also have the contract between the town and the...
I have the contract.
I think I gave you that, correct? You may have mine.
I'm not
You
sure
may
who
have
gave it to
mine,
me.
but either way, as long as you have it, I don't care.
I have it. Oh, yeah, then I'd be interested to see that. I was not aware of
I
it.
will bring you the plans.
Okay.
Well,
We'll
I'm-
start construction.
Don't promise anything you can't deliver. While I'm here, I've brought this up several times. Cover your ears, Dan. It has to do with O&R.
Let me repeat myself.
When are we going to get rid of the over 50 double poles all over our village?
I think there's over 100.
Well, I counted 50
Right.
just riding
I did an
around.
inventory. I inquired with O&R to do an inventory of how many double poles that we have, and there was around 100 and, I believe, 23.
That sounds
So
about right.
according to O&R, why they haven't been removed is because of the fact that
Cablevision,
Cablevision is still
Verizon.
attached to them, Verizon's attached to them, and what other utilities or private people have utilities attached to them.
And we're
So-
to blame too, because we have our 25-year abandoned fire alarm system wires
on
still up there.
We have 10,000 feet of fiber optic cable for surveillance systems on there. I don't know how many are attached to double poles, but we are currently working on it. Right. Right. They are definitely in the process.
Yeah, and I think as a village, we ought to notify Verizon and Cablevision, because most of it, I think, is their equipment.
Yes.
Good evening, Jeff Genser, 32 First Street. I wanted to thank the mayor, the village attorney who seems to have left the room, and Trustee Morris for that meeting that we had about a month ago. I was really happy that a lot of the things that we talked about actually happened. Just to update, though, the new signs that were placed under the Chestnut Street overpass,
Yes.
they're kind of far apart, they're too small, and people are ignoring them. And I know they're brand new. Unless you're directly in front of them, can't see them.
I looked at it like yesterday, and I'm going to bring it to Mr. Zawicki's attention. I believe that on the wing wall of the underpass, that wall that's sort of faces the road, it's called the wing wall. Right. That would be a perfect spot for a big sign.
A huge sign with LED lights blinking all the time. Do not stop. Do not pick up passengers here.
All right.
I'd be happy to design that for you. It's really a serious problem.
Right. No,
and I know you're making
We
progress.
also installed the sign on Ramapo Avenue of the notification, like of an upcoming curve sign. Did you see it?
I saw that. That's a good
Okay.
start.
The yellow striping, the yellow curbing, the
Yes.
additional signage.
They're ignoring the signs and everything. I
Okay.
mean, I get off the train
They're
2 or 3
ignoring
times
them.
a week, and there's a lineup of cars, different times of day. All you have to do is look at the train schedule. If we could put a couple of officers there when the trains come in, you'd be able to collect a lot of money in tickets, because
So
they're
maybe
picking
we'll be able to direct
hundreds
it-
of people up a day, every single day.
Chief, maybe we could send a car down there around those certain times to see if
Yeah,
there's...
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, because it's the same people. Once you let them know, that they're going to be given a ticket, they'll do something else. Pick them up around the corner. I'm not going to mention these in an order that I think of importance, but there's one issue I didn't bring to your attention. That's a problem that I believe exists on Chestnut Street in front of the restaurant and supply store. About once a week, they get a tractor trailer that parks there for up to 45 minutes, making a delivery, blocking Chestnut Street in one side, and there's nobody helping
Do
directly.
you have a time frame on that, Jeff? Would you know?
I'll call me, I'll call the police.
It's dangerous because you don't know who's going to go first, and it's a problem. So
Okay.
I'm all about public safety here.
So we'll try to get the parking enforcement aid to that location, or the PD.
You know,
during
you
the
guys inherited that problem from the last board, because that building should have been taken by eminent domain and included in the Orange Avenue project I recommended many years ago, because it shouldn't be there. It should have been part of the site for the new building, so that they would have more parking. But that's here nor there. I want to also say that my wife's business, Jay's Thai Kitchen, would like to donate the money in honor of our 6-month anniversary on August 16th for speed bumps on Ramapo Avenue, the temporary kind that you put over by the pool. I want to make that publicly known, that we will be happy to pay for them if there's an issue with the cost for putting the temporary plastic speed bumps, because the traffic on Ramapo Avenue continues to fly by my house at between 40 and 50 miles an hour in the morning, in the evening, at 11 o'clock at night, at 6 o'clock in the morning, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I walk my dog. I see it. I know Mr. Hagen lives right around the corner from me. Oh, here it is. There it is.
I almost got hit a couple.
He knows what I'm talking about. All right, so that's two things. I'd like to also mention that I hope that the village board will be supportive of the Lafayette Theater in their new plans to have live music concerts at the Lafayette Theater. The Grace
met with the
Vanderwall
owner
concert
and
was
we spoke to
phenomenal,
it.
big success, and I think that by having those live concerts there, it will bring a huge amount of people and business to the downtown district, be a huge shot in the arm for all the restaurants and other businesses, and I'm hoping that you'll be very cooperative in the future when they bring their plans to you, because I have spoken to the owner, and they are hopefully going forward with a big plan.
I've met with the owner, and it seems very positive.
Excellent. So the last thing I want to talk about is I would like to propose a local law requiring that no one is allowed to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk in the village of Suffern if they're over 14 years old, and anybody who rides a bicycle in the village of Suffern, whether they're 14 and under or an adult, has to wear a helmet, and otherwise they're ticketed and signs should be put up. I give bicycle safety courses in New York City. It's the law in Manhattan and the 5 boroughs. It should be. It's not a law here, I found out through the police department. It's a law in state parks and county parks, but it's not a law. A local municipality has to create a local law to make that happen. And I have walked out of our new storefront right here on Lafayette Avenue, and I've almost been run over at least 10 times by guys flying by on a bicycle, no helmet. And my dog got hit by a bicycle coming out of my driveway once, and I almost got hit at least 10 times by people on bicycles. I think it's a super hazard, and I think it's super important, and it should really be taken seriously, and thank you very much for your attention to it.
Okay, thank you.
I am a bike rider. I do ride the sidewalks, but I do it at a courtesy. And the reason that I do it is because I have been hit by a car. It doesn't feel well, because when you ride with motorists, you don't have the right of way. You do, by law you do, but you don't. I ride from Suffern to Mawa. I know for a fact when people are coming out of parking lots, they are not looking, they look the way that they go. They don't bother to look the other way. I have gone around cars, I have hit their bumper, and they look at me and they go, hey, and I say, your head works both ways. And I am a courteous bike rider. If there is somebody walking ahead of me, I will just glide along until they're gone.
You are the unusual bike rider.
Yes. I know, I've run into some of them too.
I've seen it.
Because
All right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna
But
Are you-
I just wanted to say my view as a bike rider. I ride every day. Yep. Nope,
All right.
I refuse to for the fact that I've dealt with the cars on these streets.
All right, let us address the board. Good? Okay. All right, thank you.
Hello, Board. Paul Gerard, 2 Cross Street. Could I get clarification on a point that was made earlier on redoing with the O&R job on Wayne Avenue? That has to be redone, everything they dug up?
Well,
over the
it
fall?
doesn't have to be redone. That's the way it was planned to be done. So they did dig the trench, set the pipe, and at a later date, they were coming back to do the full restoration. So they didn't do the full restoration, which was planned. Follow what I'm saying? The full restoration was step 2. So they did the pipe, they backfilled it, and paved it. That was step 1. Step 2 was the full restoration, so they didn't complete step 2 of the full restoration.
Okay.
According to New York State specification.
And that involves digging up what they've already done in step 1?
Yes, because they have to dig it up, they have to dig whatever the trench width is, say 2 foot. Then, according to the state, they have to go out an additional foot on each side of the trench to stabilize the ground they disturbed, and then refill it with super pave in specific lifts of asphalt to grade level. And when they complete that, that'll be completed. Then they will come back and mill the entire half a road and repave it. So it's like a 3-step process. That's the state spec. We have no control over it. And if
All
they
right.
hit concrete within a certain area, that's a whole nother issue.
And that's holding up paving Orange Ave and Lafayette. Honestly, I have no faith at this point or belief that we're getting any new roads.
No, we are.
I've never seen anybody patch a road like we've done here and then get new roads after they're done patching it. I've just never seen that. I mean, we're patching all over the place.
We've spent an awful lot of time with the DOT engineers on this, and it's an amazing system. I mean, one day we spent, about an hour out there, Ed, while they discussed whether or not it was close to the seam of the concrete and whether or not it had to be recut and adjusted. It's a mind-boggling process. I don't know how to explain it, but it's very real. And
I mean, I remember on Orange Avenue when we, you guys made the decision to extend the sidewalk, and it was a quote-unquote emergency
to get it done
decision.
Before the pavers came in, correct.
And now we don't have anything.
Right, it will be done.
But that's, okay. So that's affecting Lafayette and Orange as well.
They want to come in and do all of the paving necessary in the village at one time.
But I think we should also point out that in
Even though they've been coming and patching?
Well, in a
That's not the final product of the surface.
I know, but who's been doing that? The state?
Well,
But the state has been doing all this patching, but they don't want to come back and do real paving unless they do it all at once? I don't.
The reconstruction of the trench has to be completed.
No, okay, I got the trench, but I'm also seeing patchwork all up and down Lafayette.
That's because of the lateral gas lines that do cross the road, the vaults that they dug, and the valves, and maybe Charles, you could elaborate. I think I'm on target somewhat.
Right, but there's, after that's done, there's been some patchwork that it's kind of, it's big patches. It's not just the one pipe at a time. It's been.
They're
long
doing it at
stretches that have
sections
been-
like 100 feet?
Yeah.
Yes, so they are going in and reconstructing it at different sections depending on how shallow the gas main is to the road surface, depending on how much concrete they excavated from below the asphalt, depending on the size of the leftover concrete. If it was, what, less than 3 feet of the entire slab, they would have to remove.
Now, the other thing is, we talked about this before. There's, we have the O&R project, which is the biggest, the most involved. And then you have the DOT work. Now, what you might have saw too is going back probably maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, the DOT came in, identified areas that they needed to repair. So they'd come out, you see some white paint, they spray an area, they would cut it out, and then they would make a repair. So that work was done strictly by the DOT. So you got a couple of different elements here. So there's a lot.
That's your team doing that?
No, that's the state DOT. Yeah. So maybe that explains why you're seeing different areas. I guess I've never seen. I mean, it is a little mind-boggling on how this whole thing played out, but. The complaint factor for the beginning was that you had O&R wanting to replace the gas main, and then you had the DOT wanting to mill and pave. So we're trying to get that all in one bag,
Right.
if you will. All right.
Okay. It's hard to.
It's
hard to apply logic to this when.
For us to go and talk.
No, but I mean, if they're willing to come back and do patchwork, I don't understand why they just wouldn't be willing to just pave a whole road. And
Because they can't, because it's not prepped or prepared to the state spec. So once that's completed, then they will come in and mill and pave the entire surface.
Okay, but our Orange Ave doesn't have any of that they need to do, does it?
Yes, they need to
They
rebuild trenching on Orange Avenue also.
All right.
I might point out that a couple of places we also found, going over the bridge opposite the craft house there, we actually found storm drains that were covered by 9 inches of asphalt that we insisted that they repair or bring up to ground level because they weren't functioning. So water flowing over that was flowing over the curve into the river, which was helping the flooding in Squires Gate. So now by these, I think it was 3 storm drains we found
3.
there, they're reconstructing them and making them all serviceable. So what we hope is that some water, rather than going right into the river, is going to go into the storm drains, most of it, and be channeled out of the flood area. We found a similar situation on Orange Avenue, where one of the storm drains was buried better than halfway under a sidewalk. So we've had them dig up the sidewalk, dig up the road again, and move the storm drain out so that it's fully functional. So, we probably delayed them slightly in these areas, but those were issues that, contribute to the flooding in the village, and we thought they were important enough that let's address everything and get it done right, and that's what we're doing now.
Okay. All right, thanks. The other topic I want to bring up is real estate activity in Ramapo, and which includes Suffern. I have some friends in the area that are looking to sell their home, and I also have a good friend of 30-plus years who's a real estate agent in Rockland County, and the real estate market is booming in the Hudson Valley. Everywhere you look, despite what Donald Trump says, I think the economy's doing pretty well. But the exception is Ramapo, and in her words, the real estate market in Ramapo is dead. And when I asked her what the reason is for that, she cited 3 things. She said the impending St. Lawrence case, which is, again, we don't know what kind of rocks we're going to turn over and find from that mess, the fear of Suffern becoming like East Ramapo, and the fiscal state of Suffern. Now, I bring this up because, you know, I think, you know, I've been living here for 20 years, and in the county of Rockland, you know, my whole life. And, you know, there's a lot of great things that Suffern brings, the train station, the village, great restaurants. But probably the biggest draw that keeps this village going is the great school system. And it brings families from all over the place. They want to come live here because we've got a great school system. But one of the things now Ramapo Central offers is you can now attend Ramapo Central School District and you don't have to live here. You can just pay tuition, that's right. So, so this is a problem because, you know, again, over a long term, you know, as population ages, I mean, we need that continual influx of new families to come in here. So, and when I think about the causes, the St. Lawrence, the fear of becoming like East Ramapo, the fiscal state, I go back to something I have to talk about a lot, and that is becoming a city. And I think that we need to start thinking about this as, you know, thinking the long term. I know we're here, we're solving a lot of issues on Wayne Avenue, but there's more to Suffern than Wayne Avenue. And there are, you know, I know that Mr. Mayor and Mr. Morris, you guys both ran 2 years ago talking about the fiscal state of this. You know, you guys ran on the premise that we were the most fiscally distressed village. I haven't seen anything substantial that has been done in almost 2 years since then to work on the fiscal problems that have been going on for a long time here.
All right, let me address that. As you know, you and I have had discussions over the conversions of the village to a city, whether or not it made economic
Yep,
sense.
I know you've got West Point looking at it, and I think that's great, but I mean, we're not going to have an answer on that till December. You know, I think we could do our own work on some of this stuff to figure out what it's going to take.
Well, we offered West Point.
Hold on, Mr. Morris.
Okay.
Okay.
We recently had a meeting with the two lieutenant colonels who will be heading this program, representing their classes. And we have a final meeting. We'll meet with them and the students on August 30th, I think it is. And by that time, what we offered to help them with this process. And they were pretty emphatic in saying, no, they don't want outside help. They'll ask for whatever help they may need, but they don't want outside input into it because they want it to be a completely unbiased study. And the results based strictly on the merits of what they find. So that's where we are with that. Now, I know it seems like a long time, but it's a slow process, and if we attempted to do this on our own, we would need attorneys, we would need accountants, and we're talking tens and tens of thousands of dollars.
We're paying Ramapo $1.6 million a year.
We're getting this done absolutely free. We'll have a report by December 5th or 6th, which will give us a completely unbiased opinion as to whether or not it makes economic sense or not. So, I mean, that's the best we can do with that.
Okay. Could you, well, I don't think it's the best you can do, but it's what you're doing, that's fine. Are they going to be, yes, are they going to be going into the detail, like specific details of Suffern and Ramapo, for example, looking at the town budget that's public information online to compare, you know, some of the stuff that I've done, but I can understand, let's have somebody else that's impartial do it. That, I mean, are they going to that level of detail and looking specifically at what Suffern pays for, what they don't get services for, what you know?
We spoke to those points with the two lieutenant colonels that visited 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Yeah. With that detail. Yes. Okay. They are going to present all of that information. They're going to do all the fact finding. They're going to do a feasibility analysis. They're challenging these West Point cadets, top-notch seniors in the country, with this task. I think it's a great task, and it will give us a great guideline. Hopefully, it will give us a great guideline on what direction to take, or if it's even possible.
Okay, I hope so too. I'm just, I want to bring up these issues. I mean, this was like, I don't have a lot of hair, but these comments blew my hair back in terms of the effect that all these issues is having, the fact that we are, again, booming real estate market everywhere around us, but Ramapo and Suffern, dead. Okay, I think.
And it impacts all of us. It impacts every resident here in the community. And our concern are the people that live here, the homeowners, the residents, the taxpayers. It is. Everybody is aware of it, Mr. Gerard. We are trying to, going back to the financial stability and the situation that the village is in, there have been actions taken here through the budget process, through the treasurer's office, through not hiring, through increasing revenue streams. There have been many things that we have been doing in this village and acting as a village board to help the village.
Okay. Our debt's higher than it was 2 years ago.
What's that?
Our village debt is higher than it was 2 years ago.
We consolidated all of the debt also.
Okay.
And most of it was state mandated.
Well, because...
From the DEC.
Because we had to.
Yeah.
But we're still number one on the fiscally distressed list. I don't think we're doing enough. Thanks for your time.
I think there's one fact that Mr. Gerard left out. I'm sure it was purely accidental. What was your tax increase this year as compared to 2 years ago? There's like a 15 percentage point difference in the increase in taxes. If that's not improvement, I can't help you.
I wouldn't call that improvement because we're paying that 15% every year. It's not like it came, there were a lot of one-time expenses. I brought that up when the budget was created. There were a lot of one-time expenses in the 2015-16 budget that went away. Okay? Tax rate didn't come back down after those were paid for. It stayed up. So we're getting that. Well, no, I'll give these gentlemen credit because there were people, including myself, who came up here and challenged some numbers in the budget, and Mr. Janito and some members of the board went through and they cut those out, okay? And so they brought that down. But again, that was with some challenge from the... Because, yeah, you're right. Okay, again, there wasn't a cut. We kept it flat, which is good, but... Right. You're right. After we...
All right, you know what, when we address the board, and you know what, we are taking everything you say into consideration, as you did say, that when you did address these concerns during the budget process, they were addressed. You know, it's a challenge.
Okay. I was just clarifying the...
Okay.
The fact that...
Hi, I just have one more request. You were talking about signs and everything. On Woodland, there is no 25-mile-per-hour sign from Vista to James Street. That's where the next sign is. If you turn on Hillcrest, it's 30 miles an hour. So anybody going down Vista or any other of the streets to Woodland, have no way of knowing that it is a slower speed. You just assume that it's 30 miles an hour, and they'll probably do 35. I go that way coming off Woodland or one of the other streets on.
It's 25, isn't it 25?
30 miles an hour on Hillcrest by the hospital. The
And
sign's
25
30.
on Woodland.
On Woodland,
Right.
yeah. But if anybody comes off of any of the other
If they make a left or a right onto that, they don't
Woodland,
see the
yeah,
sign.
off of Hillcrest
Okay.
going down, could we add maybe a couple of other signs along there? Because people do fly down there. My friend, in fact, her daughter was in my scout troop with my daughters, was killed walking her dog on that street, Woodland.
We'll take a look at it.
All right.
We'll look at the regulation and the sign, the necessary signage. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Woodland and Hillside, as she said.
Woodland and Hillside.
That's what I got.
Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? No? Do I have a motion to close the audience participation?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Ms. Menschner, the village clerk.
First thing we have is the approval of the special meeting on March the 28th.
Okay, so present at this meeting was myself, Mr. Hagen, and Mr. Russo. So do I have a motion to accept the special village board meetings for Monday, March 28th?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Who made the motion?
Mr. Hagen.
Mr. Russo made the motion.
Oh, was it? I'm sorry.
I'll be second.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Mrs. Hamilton is requesting her annual block party for September the 3rd.
I'd like to make a motion.
Do we have any conflicting on the schedule for September 3rd? Nothing?
No.
Just a block party.
And
Lexington Avenue between Chaddock and Crane. 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Can the village board go to the party?
You're all invited.
Oh, thanks.
I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Just
Gotta represent the
as a
neighborhood.
caveat that they coordinate with the Suffern Police Department and
I usually give them a copy of it.
and DPW if required.
They supplied the
The wooden horses.
wooden horses.
Okay.
Okay. Mayor, we have a petition here for 104 Lafayette Avenue, and this is right on the corner of Suffern Place and Lafayette Avenue. It's the corner store, and it's for 4 apartments upstairs.
Okay, so you have
A petition.
petition for zone change.
Right.
And what do you recommend with this petition for zone change here?
Send it to the planning board.
Okay. Okay, so we have a petition. You want to take a look at this? Take a quick look.
Why don't we bring the attorney?
Yes, come on up, Mr. Ellsworth.
Just as a, good evening, Mayor, board members, just as a matter of clarification, the petition is to change the zoning code of the Village of Suffern to allow in the CB district special use permit for mixed use residential and commercial. I think the board, at least some of the board, is aware of our endeavors over the last year with respect to this property, but the petition is for that zone, not for that property. And I believe Ms. Menschner is correct.
Well, it's a zone, just to make it clear, it's not for a special permit, it's for a zone change.
Zone change to allow for a special permit for mixed use in that zone.
So it would impact the entire zone?
It would. And that is why I believe Ms. Menschner is correct, that this is an automatic referral to the planning board to advise and consent this board, and then for a public hearing on a vote.
But if it would impact every zone, your EAF would have to, I'm sorry, if it would impact every zone, I think your EAF would have to take into account the impact on the entire zone, not just on this one lot.
Well, you indicated that the board hadn't seen my petition until just today, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that under advisement, but I don't think that prevents it from going to the planning board. If in fact the correction has to be made, I certainly can handle that during the process. And you don't have to declare yourself lead agency nor make any declarations tonight before the planning board does its review.
No, I agree with that.
So if in fact we can consult on that, I'd be happy to, and if you want to change EAF, I'll certainly do that. But I would ask that it at least be referred to the planning board. I believe there's a time limit from the referral to the public hearing that can be extended if the planning board wants more definite information. And certainly the referral is not an indication of anything.
Right.
And I believe it is required under your code.
No, but my concern is you submitted a short form for the one particular lot, and they would have to entertain basically the entire zone, not just the one lot, and that it would potentially, based on the size of the area, be a type 1 action.
Potentially, but again, the environmental impact in the zone is just a theoretical permitted use for the future. I don't know that it's a difference, but I certainly, again, if you're indicating that it can't proceed without a long form, I respectfully disagree.
Well, my point is, if it's referred to the planning board, they can't just be looking at it based on what I'm looking at right now, site-specific. They got to look at it zone-wide. And in order to do that, they have to have the requisite materials to do that.
And again, it wouldn't be much different other than a change in the form. The site-specific is throughout this zone. There's no physical environmental changes with respect to the request. So again, if you'd like a long form, I'll certainly do it. When would the next planning board meeting be?
When is the next planning board meeting? This Tuesday?
Next Wednesday, isn't it?
If you refer it subject to that long form, I can certainly do that.
Is Rob going to be back?
I don't know.
What was that?
Is Rob going to be back?
He said September, didn't he?
What's next Wednesday?
The date?
17th?
Here's the date.
The 17th.
Here's the calendar.
Subject to the long form? What? Was he, did you just want him to change?
I mean, I have no objection to the village board referring it to the planning board with the caveat that the planning board be made aware that in reality it's a petition that would affect the entire zoning district, and that that would, in my opinion, require an environmental review of all the properties within that zoning district at the very least. You know, I'm doing this off the top of my head, but possibly even have other property owners agree that, well, I retract that. Certainly on the environmental, I think you'd have to do a zone-wide environmental review.
Dan, and I understand the long form and the short form issue, but just to point out that the short form that we submitted is not site specific, although it is a project information. It doesn't talk about 104 Lafayette. It talks about...
Yeah, but you don't even know how many properties it affects, how many acres it affects.
I understand.
Yeah. So with that caveat, I'd have no objection, but it's up to the board.
Okay, so do I have a motion here in regards to the petition for zone change for 104 Lafayette Avenue to be referred to the planning board and to make the planning board aware of the potential effect of all properties within the zoning district? Mr. Morris makes the first motion. I have a second motion for the referral.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We will refer this to the planning board.
I'll correct that form appropriately.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. You also have before you the recommendation from the planning board for the Bat in Jane home occupation, and that's down on Washington Avenue.
Okay, so in front of us, we have the recommendation from Paul Gdansky, the chairman of the planning board, dated August 5th. So I think we have a few concerns here with the recommendation from the planning board. Let's just go through it here. Do we have the... We do have the petitioner. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to spend at least a few minutes with you this evening to discuss the project, answer some of your concerns, and also introduce you to Mr. Battenjane, who is seated in the white shirt, seated next to me in the white shirt. He and his wife have entered a contract to purchase the YMCA building, subject to zoning approvals that would permit the property to be used as a home occupation. Many municipalities refer to that as a home professional office. It's Mr. Battenjane's intent to restore the property. It's a 125-year-old wood frame building. It needs a lot of work. He wants to use it for a family member as a home professional office. He wants to restore it to the tax rolls. It's now a tax-exempt property. And he wants to bring a thriving business and a productive resident to the village of Suffern, addressing perhaps some of the concerns that some of the speakers here tonight have stated. 94 Washington Avenue. It's the YMCA building. 91. I'm sorry, 91. You know, it's a difficult piece of property. It's a fairly large lot compared to its neighboring property owners. But the building itself is really not conducive to either a straight single-family residence or a two-family residence, the uses that are primarily permitted by the village. But it is very conducive to a home professional office, similar to some of the neighboring properties. And it's Mrs. Batten Jane's brother, who is a certified financial planner and a real estate agent that would like to live on the second floor and have the first floor as his office. The primary goal, I believe, in the village's home occupation is to have a building that continues the look of a single-family residence, but permitting part of the property to be used as a business, which would often be contained in a home professional office. A doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an insurance agent. These are, I believe, what the village's law proposes. And we want to address that and use that property for that purpose. You know, the size of the lot would permit the property to be subdivided into 3 separate lots, each which could contain 2-family homes. That's not what Mr. and Mrs. Batten Jane want, and I would assume that's really not what the village would most desire for the property. We really want to put the property to a use which maintains the integrity of this old historic building, and permits it to blend in with the neighborhood and be a continuing productive member of the Suffern community. Now, for us to proceed with the contract of sale, we need a number of approvals by the village. We need, number one, a special permit from this board, and if we are able to obtain that permission, we then have to go to the zoning board, and we need 2 variances from the zoning board. One would be to expand the limit in which a building can be used as a home professional office. Right now, the village code limits that to 300 square feet for the office, for the professional use. I believe the village's code is somewhat outdated because that really limits it too restrictively to what most home professional offices would allow. So we would ask the zoning board to permit the lower level to be used for the office, and the rest of the building, both the second floor, the basement, and the walk-in attic, to be used as part of the residence.
So the entire lower level?
The entire lower level.
Now, what is the square footage of that?
It's about 2,700 square feet, I believe. It also contains a kitchen. It contains some other features. So there's be a large space there, probably more than would be necessary to accommodate the needs of the office. The other variance that we would need from the village would be to expand the number of employees. The way the code reads now, it's supposed to be used only by the residents and one other person. Right now, what we would contemplate would have the residents and 1 family member working in the office, and we would have up to 5 others. That would be 2 clerical people, an assistant to the resident who would be the certified financial planner, and another person working in the insurance agency. But the use is really minimal in terms of...
So how many uses are there?
I'm sorry?
How many uses does he plan on having? You said an insurance agency and a financial planner.
Yes, he does both.
And you mentioned real estate.
He does both, and the office would address both. So it's a certified financial planner and an insurance agent. He is both. He would direct both, but he would have a separate person working as an insurance agent with him.
What's the total square footage of the structure?
Almost 5,600 square feet. It's a huge
So
building.
you're talking about more than half of the structure being for the office?
The lower level, which is about half.
54.
Will he also be running, in one of the previous papers, he runs a real estate business?
No, it's not a real estate. It's an insurance agency and a certified financial planner. There would be no other use. He does both now in New Jersey, and this is what he would like to do here.
So just to understand this thing right, Mr. Batterjean is proposing to buy a home. I assume he's renting it out, and he's going to receive rent from the insurance, from the financial planner, and from his brother living upstairs?
He will permit his brother, Mrs. Batten-Jane's brother would live on the second floor. He would be the one that would operate the certified financial planning and insurance
I
agency.
understand that.
And Mr. Batten-Jane would basically recover the cost of carrying the property from his brother-in-law.
He will be charging him rent, in other
He will
words.
be, yes.
And he will be charging the insurance company and the financial planner rent.
He would, no, there's not, there'd be one lease, there'd be one arrangement for Mrs. Batten-Jane's brother to pay the carrying charge of the property, but there's not a separate lease for the residents and a separate lease for the business. It's all one use. It's not two separate users. It's one user using it as a residence as well as his professional office.
How do you read the code with regard to who has to own the home and the business?
It does not restrict the owner to be the one that operates the business. The code refers to the resident. So
right, but
we interpret
does
that.
the owner have to live there?
No, it doesn't say that. The code says the resident has to operate the business. It doesn't say the owner has to live there and operate the business.
Can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
Because you and I could agree or disagree. It's irrelevant. The entity that has to make that determination is the building inspector. That you get a determination from the building inspector on that issue.
We could do so. I would only point out a couple of practical concerns.
Go ahead.
We have some, we need approval by this board, we need approval by the zoning board, and we need approval back by the planning board. And we have some contract restrictions with the YMCA as to time.
I was going to ask
I would
you
be
that.
happy to speak to the building inspector and hopefully get a confirmation of what I represented. I would ask, though, that the board proceed to schedule the public hearing so we can move this forward, because we have a requirement to close before the end of the year. And we have a number of approvals that we have to obtain before we reach that point. So that's kind of the practical concern. I would just emphasize a few things, if I may, to the board. We're proposing a use which preserves the building, has minimal impact on the area. One looking at the property will be unable to tell the difference between the home professional office from the building now, except for the sign out front. We're going to improve the building dramatically, and it prevents other, I would think, less desirable potential uses of the property. It really seems to be a win-win for everybody, as well as restoring the property back on the tax rolls. The property's been listed for sale for a really long time, and there have been no other buyers. We are really doing something which I think not only benefits Mr. Batten-Jane and his brother-in-law, but also really benefits the village by really preserving the property and doing something that we think would be a proud land use of, on that area. And it's consistent with other uses in the area. So we really think this is something that's desirable all around. And just one or two other factors. Although it's a business, this is not a business that involves walk-in clientele. There would never be more than one or perhaps two clients visiting the site at any one time. There's a large parking area that's already there. So all these factors really, I think, cry out that this is an appropriate use of the property. Be happy to address the building inspector and Mr. Kraushaar's concern about the interpretation of the code, but we really do ask the board to consider moving the project along because we have fairly significant constraints that go through the end of the year, and we still have 3 approvals to obtain.
Well, my problem is I'm not comfortable with your assessment that this is fairly consistent with other home offices in the neighborhood. It's substantially larger than any other home office in that area, which I'm sure if you do the research, you're going to find that's accurate. You're talking about a family, and you're talking about one worker from the family. You're talking about 5 additional workers. That accounts for a minimum of 6 cars, probably closer to 8 or 9 cars, which is really not in character with the neighborhood. You're talking about utilizing 2,700 square feet for an office, which again is large. It's much larger than what the character of the neighborhood would dictate. The home office, again, your interpretation is different than mine. If you told me that this was owner-occupied, you have a valid point. But as far as I can see, this is simply a real estate transaction. He's buying a building, he's going to lease it out, he's going to collect rent from it, and that's all it is. It's a commercial enterprise.
All right, let me just say this. With regard to the impact on the character of the neighborhood, the size of the commercial aspect, these are all issues that the zoning board will have to wrestle with. They're a quasi-judicial board, and we can't influence that process. But with regard to whether or not under the code, someone who doesn't reside at the residence can take advantage of a special permit under this home occupation provision, I think does relate to something that this board has to consider, because that relates to whether or not they can even grant the approval regardless of the variances that are required. If we can get an answer to that, and the building inspector is the one who makes that determination under village law, and he comes back and says, yes, the owner doesn't have to live there, he can have someone else live there, then the board can entertain the petition. If he comes back with, no, the board cannot entertain this because it must be owner occupied, then Mr. Klein will have to exhaust his administrative remedies with regard to that. And we'd have to wait until that was done before we could act. That said, if the board is inclined to set a public hearing with the understanding that if the building inspector comes back with an adverse determination, that public hearing will go nowhere. If the building inspector comes back with a favorable determination on the part of the applicant, then the board can consider whether or not they meet the standards under the requirements of the home occupation special permit. Another issue that we're going to have to figure out is who is the lead agency, because my concern is the board can't act without a seeker determination, and I think you should be equally concerned that it's not engaging in improper segmentation. So that's another thing we're going to have to figure out should the board set the public hearing prior to that public hearing occurring.
I would think that this board would be lead agency, but I guess you could defer to the planning board if you wished. And I would point out on this type of application, the planning board could require a site plan, or it could waive a site plan and require diagrams that are somewhat short of that, and that's their prerogative to do so. And as the board obviously is aware, we've met at least preliminarily with the planning board, and we got a favorable
Right,
reference back.
but you don't want a situation where the village board is reviewing seeker with regard to the special permit. The zoning board is reviewing seeker with regard to the variances, and the planning board is reviewing seeker with regard to either waiving or approving the site plan.
No, we definitely want a coordinated review to
Right.
the extent that we can have that, absolutely. Mr. Morris, if I could just
The
address one comment that you made. I believe, this is different than others, but the site is different than all the others there. It's a much larger site and a much larger building, but in terms of using the percentage of the building compared to others, I think we're really right on board. It's just a lot bigger building.
Well, I don't think your analogy of percentages is valid because, again, if the other home offices are using 300 feet of a 12 or 1,400 square foot building, you're using 50%.
This is not on for a public hearing at this point. Hopefully, if we can't, then we'll just either deny it or continue. What? Set a public hearing now. Don't do it. Yeah. So, just say, take the first.
Okay. Does any board members have any other comments? No? Okay. Well, at this time, I'm definitely not comfortable with setting a public hearing until we have further definitive answers on the route that we're going to take and lead agencies and the seeker requirements and everything that we just discussed. So at this time, I would not recommend setting a public hearing.
Would the board circulate an intent to be lead agency notice to move that forward, or I'm just trying to figure out a way to advance the process while we...
I would think that what I would do, or my recommendation to you, would be to have more definitive answers on all the questions that were proposed and asked of, and then present that back to us, to the village board.
And honestly, my preference would be that, and my experience has been with regard to these type of applications, that the planning board is more suited to lead agency status than the village board. They have more resources available to them, like the village planner, the village engineer, et cetera.
The only awkward consideration there is the order in which the approvals would come about. I mean, logically, the special permit should come first, the zoning board approval second, I believe the site plan last. So if we have the lead agency being the last approval entity, it creates some procedural problems, I think.
Well, if you can get on their agenda for next Wednesday,
we'll pursue that then.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time, and we appreciate the opportunity to at least introduce what we're intending to do directly with you, and we'll hopefully be back with you at the next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Janito from the Finance Department.
Joe and I want to recuse ourselves from these two things. So after you're done with the budget transfer,
Then you're going to go on.
then we're going to go on.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Janito.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. We have three things tonight for your consideration. The first one is
If we can, just so I can interrupt you for 1 second, the first of the three will be heard by the entire board. The second two will not. Mr. Russo and Mr. Kraushaar will be leaving the room.
We're going to recuse ourselves on those matters because it potentially results in a conflict of interest.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is a budget transfer resolution. Essentially, what this deals with is the fact that for our outside counsel services, we have that in a couple of different line items in the budget, and I would recommend it makes a lot more sense to put all of that under the attorney's budget. And so we are asking for a budget transfer resolution, basically to move money out of the village board and out of the police department's budget that is specifically designed for outside counsel and move it into the attorney's budget. That's the first resolution authorizing a budget transfer for that.
So this resolution authorizes the budget transfer of the 2016-17 adopted budget, contractual expenditures line from the village board and police to the legal service line.
Yes, to the legal service line in the attorney's budget.
Yeah, thank you for that, even though I've reduced my budget.
Well, now you just increased it.
Now
We'll cut you next year.
makes me look bad, but
You're doing a great job, don't worry about it. Okay, do I have a motion to conduct this budget, have the treasurer's office conduct this budget transfer?
I'll make a motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Bring back a pizza.
Yeah, we should bring back the pizza.
Go pizza. Okay.
The second item on our agenda is for the services of purchasing energy supply, that's electricity, from a supplier. And just to understand how all of this works, the village for a number of years has been in an agreement with another firm where that firm would go out and bid for our energy supply. The energy, of course, we buy our energy through Orange and Rockland. They supply the delivery of that energy, like electricity. But as you probably know, and it's open to the public as well, people can purchase their supplier from somebody other than Orange and Rockland. So there are basically a company that was providing this to the village, and the village was under an agreement, a multi-year agreement with them, and that agreement is expiring, or has expired. And at the same time, another company had come forth and said they would like to also quote us energy supply costs. And in essence, there were 8 different quotes that were received. And let me explain that. One company, the one company that currently had our contract, had 6 different companies quote us. And they told us which was the lowest of those quotes. The other company had 2 different companies quote us, and they gave us the lowest of their quotes. So in essence, while there were 8 different quotations, there was actually only 2 firms that got those quotations for us. As a result of that, the company that had the lowest quote is not the company we are currently doing business with, but a different company. And the name of that company is Bid Your Energy, Inc., and they bid a energy product.
Hold it, Mike, please.
AV5.
Okay. And so Bid Your Energy, Inc. came up with a quote from Constellation New Energy at a rate of 5.773 cents per kilowatt hour. That was the lowest price. The other company that we currently deal with came in with a different supplier, and their low quote was 5.955 cents. So what this resolution before you is to accept the quote from the lower bidder, provided and have authorize the mayor to sign an agreement for a 24-month contract at that fixed price for energy supply, electricity supply. Of course, that agreement would have to be reviewed and approved by the village attorney. And in the meantime, we will just do a quality check on the supplier Constellation New Energy to make sure that they are a responsible bidder. So that is what this authorization is, the resolution is to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract
24 months.
For 24 months with Bid Your Energy, Inc. for an energy supply rate at 5.773 cents per kilowatt hour of electricity.
Okay, so do I have a motion to enter into this 24-month contract with Bid Your Energy, Inc. for a cost of 5.773 cents per kilowatt hour?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
And the last resolution that we have before you is, as you know, the village has been seeking ways to reduce its energy costs, to decrease its carbon footprint, and of course find whatever efficiencies it could in everything from lighting to the heating systems and air conditioning systems. And we also have two major treatment plants, one for water, one for sewer, and both of those are major energy users. The New York Power Authority has programs, some of which are at no cost and some which do have a cost to them. They have programs where they provide energy efficiency audits, and they can also provide assistance in energy improvements, energy studies, and this deals with everything from, as I mentioned earlier, lighting within the buildings, to the heating, ventilating, air conditioning, as well as the motors and so forth that run in our water and sewer plants, and even for outside lighting like street lighting and our stadium lighting down at the ball fields. So before you is a resolution that would authorize the mayor to enter into a master customer agreement with the New York Power Authority to perform these various functions. Now, again, as anything were to come up before the village in terms of approving going ahead with, let's say, something that would cost us money, we would, of course, bring that back to the village board. Ultimately, what we are looking for this to provide us with is low-cost energy audits and improvements, efficiency improvements, that we may be able to finance through the New York Power Authority at significantly reduced rates, and where those particular projects have a cash flow benefit. In other words, the savings that you get from implementing those energy efficiencies would more than pay for the debt over the period of time that you would take it out.
Now, is there an associated cost now?
No.
Or is that none?
This is simply signing an agreement that allows us to move forward with the New York Power Authority in developing and studying what we need to do.
Okay. Okay, so do I have a motion to have the mayor, to authorize the mayor to enter into the master customer agreement and other related agreements with the New York Power Authority as reviewed and approved by the village attorney to participate in New York Power Authority's ESP?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
The why? Is it here? I don't have it.
I thought I gave it to him.
Hold on. I don't have that last resolution.
Wait a second. Did I give it to you, Mayor? Hold on.
Resolution for Tom Jordan? Jordan.
I'm in.
Do we have that? Hold on.
Definitely typed it
One
up. She
will
definitely
bring
typed
up?
it up.
No, I don't. She gave, I know she gave me one.
She definitely typed it up.
Wait a second.
There was nothing.
Okay, while you're looking at it, let me... Let's do the village time sheets, the attorney's time sheets, I'll do that. Do you want to keep the tape rolling?
No, I just stopped in a minute. I know she gave me the resolution, Mayor.
But I'm going to just do this other resolution.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Hold on. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Good, okay. Okay, so before me, I have a resolution approving the village attorney's time sheets for hours worked for the month of January, February, March, and April. Whereas the village attorney, Daniel Kraushaar, consistent with his resolution of appointment in December of 2015 in the New York State Comptroller's Office requirements, kept and submitted time records of his hours worked for the village of Suffern. And whereas notwithstanding that when he was first appointed, his position was deemed to be part-time, that subsequently to January 1st, 2016, he resigned his position of first deputy town attorney in the town of Clarkstown and performed full-time hours for the village of Suffern. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the village of Suffern hereby approves the timesheets of village attorney Daniel Kraushaar for the months of January, February, March, and April. And be it further resolved that the village report his hours to New York State Comptroller's Office as full-time retroactive to January 1st, 2016. And before me, I have the submitted timesheets. Each board member was given the timesheets for review, and we have the consistent January, February, March, and April of 2016. Do I have a motion? Motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye, motion passes. Okay.
Did she find it or
No.
All right, I'll do it off the top of my head.
Okay.
Motion to, oh, she gave it to me. I know she gave it to me. She didn't show me how she changed the amount. Or inserted the amount. Okay, a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a stipulation of settlement with Thomas Zordan, Nunc Pro Tunc, and be it further resolved that the village clerk treasurer be authorized, not the village clerk treasurer, village treasurer be authorized to cut a check for $7,000.
$7,743.
45, 28, 77, 45, 28. I think that's what it was.
Okay, we're not sure on what is it?
Do you have it?
Hold on, stand by.
$7,725.48.
And for the record, that resolution was drafted So what the board will be approving is the resolution as drafted.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Unfortunately, that concludes our meeting for this evening. I thank you all for attending.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Aye, thank you.